Grandpa Peter Coyote, coming to you from Crestone, Colorado. Allow your heart to move you. Great things can be accomplished, even when you're a whacked out, stoned up hippie freak.
So beautiful. I just started learning how to look into someone's eyes, and it was always a hard thing for me to do, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love my life, I love my life, I love my life, I love my life.
Screw what society tells you. Sorry. These wonders of life that awaits you to explore, all the magic, and it's unbelievable. The colors and the smells, and oh my God.
It gets hard to distinguish, and I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's absolutely true. It gets hard to distinguish the difference between where your legs and where your feet ends and where the board starts. You become this one unit. That's the amazing thing, is you feel totally connected.
If we become disconnected from the natural world, we lose something magical, something so precious. We lose part of what it means to be human. We protect what we love.
You gotta grab the bull by the horns. And that's about what it's like sometimes if you lived a life like mine. But you just gotta just claim it. It's yours. I really cry.
Just hundreds of souls united in play.
Mama?
What?
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you more.
Well, if we don't accept ourselves, we're kind of held up at the starting gate, metaphorically, in a sense. But even that is an important part of this whole thing. But there's so much beyond that. So when we don't accept ourselves, well, that's the strongest form of resistance there is. If we're to go out in the world and accept with grace the expression of the world as it is, if we're to go out and see the beauty in the world and see it with fresh eyes, if we're to become an active part of that expression, but from our true selves, we first have to accept ourselves. Because then otherwise everything else just becomes a projection. Well, everything else is a projection. It always is, one way or the other. So when we accept ourselves, when we do not, that is the first step in not resisting. We see that a great deal of the suffering that goes on in the world is a resistance. It's a resistance to what is. We see it in the form of fear and anger and judgment. But of course it's just a resistance. When we look at nature, we see there isn't a resistance. Nature flows. Nature is in balance. And we are nature. We are absolutely nature. So we are the one part of nature that seems to be resisting itself. We are that part of the creation that part of the expression of consciousness that seems to need to resist. And I think many feel that resistance is necessary. It can be shocking, it can be challenging, to say the least. But it is necessary, much like we see the butterfly coming out of its cocoon. It cannot come out of it doesn't just pop out of its cocoon effortlessly. We see in nature there's a bit of a struggle at the end. First there's a marinating in itself, a stillness. It goes in a cocoon and it marinates in its own existence. And then it transforms. And then when it's ready to emerge, we see it kind of has to burst out. It has to struggle in those final moments to be free. And so, in that sense, when we look at it that way, even when we think we're not flowing with nature, in that sense we are. As is so many things in this existence, it's paradoxical. We're the one expression in nature that resists the most actively, most visibly, to the point we see it in our own lives with violence and all the things that happen on the planet. We see it with how destructive we are with nature and ourselves and each other. And yet if we really pull back, then paradoxically we see that in nature, as is with the butterfly, that even that resistance just before a blossoming, a rebirth, is quite natural. And so we can see that this is actually part of the process. But when we accept instead of resist all things, when we accept ourselves, then I think we get closer to that rebirth. The butterfly will only struggle so long. At some point it will emerge and awaken, transformed. It will ascend the cocoon. And so when we practice that acceptance, we're more able to accept everything. And when we can accept everything, we are emerging from the cocoon. We are in the struggle right now. We are at the struggle stage. And so to accept is to emerge, is to begin the process of emerging, of opening up to existence, opening up to ourselves.
Understand the concept of love. Understand the concept of love.
sharing.